Welcome in to the Cam and Strick podcast, episode number 34. I'm Andy Strickland. Who are you?
Cam.
Cam who?
Cam Janssen. Extra Swedish today, baby. What's up?
Can we just let the people know that we're at the normal brand
Yes.
today?
Yeah.
Like, I know it's Corona and everything that's going on, but we're here. We're keeping our distance.
Yeah.
That's the only positive to
You're
come
in the
out
other
of
room.
this
You're in the other room.
is that Cam keeps like more than 6 feet away from me.
I don't have kids.
Yeah.
I bathe every 2 hours, homeboy.
Oh, really?
My water bill
I thought
is
you were gonna
through the
say every
fucking
2
roof.
days.
2 hours, 2 days. Is there a difference between the two?
Yeah,
no,
there'd be a
2
difference.
fucking hours.
Okay.
I'm clean as shit.
All right.
All
right.
That doesn't make any sense.
Settle down
that
over
makes
there.
No
Settle
sense
down.
there. I'm clean as Clorox bleach. Is that,
Okay.
Okay.
Don't inject yourself with that.
No.
You know
But
that, right?
I can bathe in it, though, can't
But
I?
the normal brand, they opened the doors for us.
Yes, they did.
We love that about them. Right here in the heart of Ladue. If you're in St. Louis, if you're not, check them out online. Just Google them, normal brand.
Yep.
You can always call 314-899-0800. Check this out, Cam. They will bring like a store to your house. Like they'll set up a store in your driveway.
That's what I want.
And then you shop.
Yeah, baby.
And if you find some stuff online, you want to make an order, they will deliver it to you. Keeping 6 feet away, fully sanitized. Nobody's touching it.
No.
Nobody's putting germs in your clothes.
No.
So check that out. Normal brand here in Ladue. 314-899-0800. We thank Conrad and Pete for hooking us up.
They do a lot in this city too. They do a lot
they're
for
everywhere.
this city, baby.
Yes.
A lot. Great family. Sandstones.
Yes.
Great family.
More
we
than,
love them all.
More than you do.
The
Okay.
fuck is that supposed to mean? Why you have to chirp when we're talking about the Sandstones. We're pumping their fucking tires up.
We
Now
love
you
the
gotta fucking
Sandstones.
beat me.
We love the Sandstones.
Sandstones are awesome people.
And as always, brought to you by Bellman Automotive and our friends over at www.bellman.com and cope24.com. All right. What's new with you? Good to see you, by the way. It's been a little while. It's been like
you
2
put
months.
weight on, homeboy.
I have not.
You're like 130 now.
I've been working out, dude.
Have you?
I told you. I do these Peloton workouts.
Peloton. There's a reason why you do fucking Peloton workouts. There's a hot chick on there, and she talks to you, and
She's my trainer.
Yeah. No, she doesn't. She's not real.
No, she's my trainer.
She's not real, though. She lives in California. She has no idea who the fuck you are, and you're talking to her like you're fucking buddies. No, you're not. She doesn't like you.
She's my
She
trainer.
likes your wife.
So here's what happens. So, and not even the bike rides, dude. You can do like full core exercises,
Yeah.
body weight exercises, cardio workouts, whatever you want to do.
I look at weights and get jacked.
And you can do 10-minute workouts, 20-minute workouts, hour-long workouts, whatever
Are they
it
a
is.
sponsor?
No, I'm just saying. So I've been doing these workouts. We should get them as a sponsor.
Have you?
What have you been doing?
Putting LOBs on, baby. See, I don't lie about bullshit.
No, you know I'm not lying about this.
Take your shirt off. Take your shirt off.
It's too cold
Take your
out.
shirt. That's too cold out. We're in a store. That's what I thought. Unless you're comfortable. When I say take your shirt off and you take your shirt off, like fucking A, I'm jacked as shit. Then I believe you. Here's the deal. I'm bored out of my mind. Mm-hmm. We go for walks. We look at property. I play with the animals. I barbecue. I'm a barbecuing son of a bitch. I did pork belly burnt ends the other day. Took 5 hours. They were damn good. I got a bunch of likes on Facebook because of Andy. That's when you know the food's good. When you post it on Facebook and people like it.
Daniel Carcillo,
bored.
what did he accuse me of? Trying to get fake likes or
He's
something like that?
Did he really?
Well, no, he didn't accuse me of that. He said don't do that by having Dustin Penner on. He didn't want me to.
Oh, no, I know.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And you know what? Dustin Penner was a kind
What,
of...
are you putting your tail between your legs right
What
now?
the... Dude, like, what am I going to say? Like, what am I going to say? Like, I get beaked for it, too. I gotta stand my ground sometimes on Twitter.
Well,
man.
I don't
It is
even
what
say
it is.
anything. I don't even like getting in Twitter arguments.
I hate it. I suck
It's like,
at
what do you want me to say? I don't even know what to say.
Talk to me if you want to talk
I don't
want to
say the wrong thing. I don't want to get in trouble with anybody.
I'm not good at rebuttals on Twitter.
I'm terrible at it.
Twitter, man. No, you should be good. You're good at typing, motherfucker.
I know,
I just
but
got my
it's
own
not
fucking
about
Twitter.
everybody's pretty good. It's
I
about
can't
I'm not
type.
confident in what I'm saying
Oh,
with
I'm
some
not
of that
e-
stuff.
If you talk to me one-on-one, baby, you want to
Yeah.
fucking beat me?
Right.
I'm a step ahead of you,
Right,
baby.
right,
I'm witty. Let's
right.
go. Let's go. On Twitter, I'm like,
But you don't know who
okay,
you don't even know who you're
can't
talking
type.
to. You know, it's
Yeah.
like some guy who goes by JD's chest hair is like chirping you. Like what?
Like what, motherfucker? Like, I got chest hair too.
Why is
Shit,
he
I gotta
doing
trim
that?
it up. Like I don't
Like,
know.
what did I do to you?
Why do you hate me, man? I'm interviewing somebody.
I got to admit, I really don't like it. I mean, there are a lot of things that I can just shrug off, and I really don't care about. But
When
sometimes,
they chirp your chest hair, it sucks.
occasionally somebody may cross the line and just get a little too aggressive.
No, people dig it. I'm a happy Twitter guy, and so I don't deal with that much. But you give a lot more opinions than I do. I just try to be goofy.
Yeah, not as much as I used to.
Yeah, no shit. No shit, you don't. Like now
Not
you're
as much
fucking.
as I used to, and I don't miss that at all because people used to get
I can't. I know.
so angry all the time.
I don't like when people don't like me, man.
But see, my kids are young still. My oldest is 9, so she's not reading that online. But I can't imagine what it's like for some of these professional athletes or coaches
Or commentators like Pierre
broadcasters like Pierre McGuire, who have kids who are older, who are on social media all the time, and seeing their dad
get fucking bashed.
get absolutely
fucking bashed.
raked over.
Whoa! And not just wait. Let me add on that. Not just fuck he's bad, like just like ripped on for hanging out with like women, like with Kendall Coyne, and they fucking bash him. And he's like, I'm just trying to make things come. I get like I'm watching the whole thing, and I'm like, it's just Pierre was put in a weird spot. It's all weird, like it's like all new, like okay now you gotta, and he just didn't know it just. And now he gets bashed for on so many different levels, not just, and it's just tough. Does he have a good living? Goddamn right. Is he a smart man? Absolute. Does he know his hockey? Has he been through it? Of course. But it's just the game now, and he's in that category, and he's in that area, and people fucking bash him. And we asked him about that, and he's like, fuck. But I also look at Pierre.
But you know it's got to hurt, man.
It's got to hurt. But on the other,
it's got to
and
hurt.
we talk about this too, Andy. He's also at a point where we look at all the negative on Pierre. When Pierre walks around where he goes, people are like, fuck, hey, man, how you doing? How you doing, sir?
No shit.
Like, your son wants to go and where? What's your son doing? Then here you go. You're a fucking,
And he's
you're a big motherfucking
and this
dog.
guy's been
You're a big fucking dog.
extremely good to me.
Every time we
Very
see
good
him,
to me.
Andy, we said that before.
Yeah.
Every time we see him at the ring, he comes up, stops when he's talking to somebody. He makes his way right over me, shakes my hand. I'm like, "Fucking, hey, what's up?" And he's like, "Hey, you want to come in the booth? You want to do this?" I'm like,
So
okay.
I create my own opinions, but
Me
Joe
too.
Buck deals with
Me
the
too.
same issue.
Exactly
People
right.
crush that guy.
They crush him.
I mean, and I'm like, why? Since when is Joe Buck like not a good broadcaster? How come
What?
It's like
It's not in his blood?
People who watch from a different perspective, who may be fans of teams that are outside of St. Louis, assume that he has it out for their team or whatever. And we saw that here last year. People were saying the same thing about Mike Milbury. Oh, he hates the Blues, and the NBC broadcasters hate the Blues.
Yeah.
But I never. First of all, I'm at the games mostly, so I don't see it or listen to it.
Am I learning things?
But
from you?
am I not hearing things that everybody else is hearing?
You might not, Andy. You might not, because we might look at it from a different way. We might look at it from a different view from
just
people.
watching the
Here's
game.
how I look at things. I don't give a shit if you're a little bit of a homer here and there. I don't give a fuck. Am I learning something from you? Are you teaching me something? Are you entertaining me? Is there a blend of both? That's what the fuck I want. I don't give a shit if you just teach me something.
When Cam first got into
God
broadcasting,
damn.
and he would bring me on his show.
Oh no.
His first question would always be like, "Andy,
Don't be
you're
fucking
there.
ignorant.
You're at
Don't
the
be
rink.
fucking ignorant.
You're at the rink. Tell me something I don't know."
And you didn't.
I'd be like, "What?"
And you fucking didn't.
Where do I start?
And you fucking
It's
didn't.
something that you
You know.
don't know. Where do I even start with
Math
you?
equations. Fine. But I have just so we can talk about Tom Wilson. We have a calculator.
Tom Wilson's coming up, by the
Yeah,
way. We can
that's
say
right.
that.
Yeah,
We'll
we just
promote
gotta-
that.
you know.
Who else is coming up later on this week?
Ben Bishop. Yeah, Ben Bishop.
That was cool. Local boy.
But Pierre McGuire.
Yeah.
Interesting conversation. Very smart man. Again, takes a beating online. But rolls with the punches, man. And he's there and he works his freaking ass off.
You think
what's up?
he knows he didn't really let on. Like, he knows.
He's got to know, dude. But again, we see it from a different view. When he goes and he's in public play, people aren't chirping. This is all Twitter people. People aren't chirping him. People are looking at him like,
People are like,
fucking,
"Oh, that's
how you doing?
Pierre."
Pierre McGuire. Hey, how you doing, sir?
Yeah,
hey,
no one's
can you-
saying it to
let
his face.
Exactly. Hi, hey, tell me something about something. Here, tell me something, because you are the man of information. You're getting paid to be that guy. Tell me something. I'm interested in you.
People try to be critical because he gives a lot of background information about individual players.
So do you.
I do too.
I know you do. That's why I fucking said it.
Well, what do you mean? Isn't that good?
That's what I just said. So do you.
Isn't that good information to
Yes. Yes.
Like-
No, he gets a little corny with a couple different things here and there. When he'll say maybe he gets too deep and people are like, okay, we don't need that. But that's it. He just like it pops in his head, man. Like he's on the fucking ball. It's not like he's reading the
give?
script.
But
He's just like,
you know who appreciates it is that guy he's talking
There
about.
you go.
that guy's family.
You're still entertaining
that guy and that community.
You're still entertaining the people that are listening.
Yeah.
Who cares? You don't need to entertain his family.
Yeah.
You're
it's a
entertaining
national
the
audience.
Exactly.
National audience.
He came on. He answered every question.
It's
not easy to come on our show.
He answered every question.
It's not easy to come on our podcast.
No, but he was cool about it. He was cool about it.
I hear you.
So again, check this out, Pierre McGuire. Hey, it's brought to you by our friends over at with the Bellman Automotive. I'm still waiting for my Cadillac Escalade. Don't think I'm not getting one either.
Well, they got to check your credit first.
Well, I'll get an Escalade. And Dan Bellman, drop it off. You have my address. Let's go. www.bellman.com. You know how to spell Bellman? You probably don't even know how to spell.
BEHLMANN, motherfucker.
2 N's.
I just said NN.
Yeah, okay, good.
Let me look at my producer on this one.
BEHLMANN. www.bellman.com. Get yourself some new wheels. The big germ's still out there, so they'll still come to you and clean the car and all that.
Yeah.
That probably will never stop.
Shit, they might clean you off.
And
I don't know.
they were the innovators. They were like the first ones to do it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. They'll come to your house, fully sanitized. You can call them and set up a virtual sales call.
That's what I like right there, baby.
You like that?
Them virtual sales calls.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with you.
So
let me see the damn thing.
Pop the hood and do all that.
Yeah, let me
check
look at
out
that
the interior. New cars, used cars. So they've got the Cadillac, the Buick GMC. Across the street, they've got the Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.
Ooh, how about a Jeep?
I know,
Fat
I
ass
want a Jeep.
tires.
I want a Jeep.
Fat ass tires. Go down the lake. Get the kids in the back. Take the fucking doors off. What's up, baby? We're cruising. You don't even have to go to the lake. You can just drive around for 2 hours.
Did you ask Pierre McGuire, by the way, if he has a boat? Because you ask every one of our guests if they have a boat. Like, you're the only one who wants a boat.
Shut up.
Bad.
Boats are endless fun. You can go have a car all you want. They're fun too. Boats are endless
Most
fun.
times you say, "Hey,
we don't have a boat sponsor yet, so let me pump their." I don't want to pump
did you
boats
buy
up that
yourself
much.
like a fancy car? Like, and he's like,
I've had
Cam's always
fancy
like,
cars.
Did you get yourself a boat?
Boats are endless fun.
What?
Boats are endless fun.
Who
You
the
have
hell-
to have a car, and you want to have the most comfortable car because you're driving around all the time.
Okay.
But you also want a boat. So
Don't buy a boat. Buy a car
buy
from
a
Bellman.
car from Bellman. Why'd you bring it up? Why? Great segue, Dick.
Buy a car from Bellman. www.bellman.com. Set up your virtual sales call and let them bring a car to you. And if you're if you have a car that you bought from Bellman, they'll bring a loaner car to you and take your car and get it serviced.
You, man. And they love hockey,
Yes.
and they're just they're great people in this town. They donate to charity. They're awesome people. Awesome.
And of course, brought to you by www.cope24.com as well. We'll tell you more about that in the close with cope24.com. All right, Pierre McGuire, you know him from NBC, was a former coach too.
Yeah, man.
Always rumored to take GM jobs and stuff like that.
He's done a lot, man. He's been through a lot.
Broadcaster. I've been doing NHL games for a long time. Enjoy this one. Episode number 34. Pierre McGuire, right here on the Cam and Strick podcast.
You quarantine like everybody else? How you making it through everything that's going on right now? What's life been like for Pierre McGuire?
You know what? We've been we were training up in Boston. My son's eligible for this summer's entry draft, so we were actually up in Boston training after I did my last game, and then all of a sudden, about 10 days later, they closed the rink. A friend of mine owns an arena up there. The state closed the rink, so we came back to Connecticut. My daughter's a freshman at Dartmouth, so she's home from Dartmouth, and my son is about to head out to the BC Junior League, but he can't go there because everything's closed. So we're all here in New Canaan.
What kind of player is he?
He's a smart 200-foot player. On Central Scouting's midterm, he was 139, and on the last one, on the final report, he was 105. So, he's in the mix.
Wow. So he moved up. So where did he play this past year?
Belmont Hill, the Belmont Hill School up in Boston. He's been gone. He left home when he was 13. He's been gone.
Ooh.
Yeah. He's been gone for a long time. He's been up at prep school in Boston since 8th grade. Yeah.
13 years old, Pierre. I left when I was 17. I thought it was like the biggest deal. At 13, does he get to talk to you a lot? Like, is this helping him? It's got to,
I think it's been great for him. He's really learned a lot. It's been fantastic for him in terms of the friends that he's made up in Boston. It's put a priority not just on hockey but on academics as well. It's made him much more mature. The kid that we sent away at 13 and is back in our house at 17 is it's a huge difference. Yeah, big difference.
What kind of hockey dad are you? Are you all over it, Pierre, or you just kind of let him go and do his thing?
No, he does his thing. He's got to do his thing. I'll help him when he asks me, and he asks for help a lot in terms of training and different ideas, but he's a real student of the game. He knows the league very, very well. He studies the players at all levels, studies, the competitors that he plays against. He's got a huge passion for it. And Cam would probably be able to speak to this better than I would, Andy, but the one thing about it, if you want to make it for a living, being a hockey player, you better have the passion for the game. And it's not just playing, it's everything that goes along with the playing.
Do you ever just being who you are and knowing what you know and seeing these kids throughout pretty much your whole life, seeing them get drafted, do you ever just sit them down and say, okay, or sit yourself down really and say, okay, don't do too much. All right, I want to talk to him about this thing, but I can't go at him 100 miles an hour because he's gonna rebel against me. So how do you balance that whole thing?
We've had a really good relationship for a very long time, just because I haven't been around much, and as he was growing up, I was on the road a lot, more times than not, over 200 nights a year. And then he left to go to prep school early. And so, I think whenever we're on the ice together, I tell him, I'm not your dad, I'm your coach. And don't call me dad. You can call me coach or you can call me Pierre, but don't call me dad. And so we've got a good relationship that way. But I think the biggest thing with him is that he's been very fortunate to be around the game at a very high level for a long time. So he sees how the players carry themselves, and he sees the importance of the discipline that they have, and he sees how hard they train to prepare. And I think that's, things that a lot of kids don't have the opportunity to get. And I think that it really helps you a lot as you're growing up in the game.
Were you a good player, Pierre?
I think I was pretty solid.
What position?
I was a defenseman. I was a puck-moving defenseman that could play physical.
You were better than Andy. I could tell you that already.
Cam still thinks he's 11 years old, by the way, Pierre. He stick handles in his garage all day long. Like, he can't wait to get to the rink for these alumni skates. Like, he absolutely loves it. But were you, did you expect this kind of life for yourself? Like, were you, when you were behind an NHL bench, whether as an assistant or a head coach, did you ever see yourself being on that path in terms of making a living and a career in the game of hockey?
When I was a little boy in Montreal growing up, I used to dream about being part of the Montreal Canadiens every single day. I wake up in the morning dreaming about being a Canadian. I go to bed at night dreaming about being a Canadian. That was my dream. I remember once playing in a Pee Wee game, and this was before young kids had to wear masks. And I got hit from behind right into the dasher, and it basically exploded the right side of my face. So I was maybe 11 or 12 years old. And it swelled up a lot. And I remember getting on the city bus the next day to go to school with my two brothers, and the kids were making fun of me because my face was it was large. It was swollen up pretty good. And I remember telling the one kid that was making fun of me, I said, just remember my name because someday you're going to see it when I'm playing.
Ooh. Oh, yeah.
And I was like 11 or 12. So, it's one of those things where I always dreamt about it. And probably the best story I could tell you is getting my first paycheck, my first year pro over in Europe. And that was really cool. I was called my mother and father and said, hey, I actually got a bank account going, which is good. And then the next one I would tell you is when I was signed by the Pittsburgh Penguins to be in their management team, and walking to the rink the first day of training camp in 1990 and saying, man, oh man, it's took a long route to get here, but it's been worth it. It's been really worth it.
See, I'll disagree with you on that. Like when you cut your face open, and you go to the bar after the game. Like that's a conversation starter, Pierre. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
When you're 11 and 12, it's hard to get into the bars, even if you're in Canada.
Pierre,
exactly
you're talking
right.
like Cam was probably at the bar when you were 11 and 12.
Well, you were just a D-man. You're a D-man. You were a pitcher and a quarterback. What the fuck?
Yeah. I played 3 sports in college. Yeah, so it was good. I enjoyed it very much. I was playing hockey. I was part of a first ever program at Hobart College, which is really now a top end Division III school. Back then it was Division II, and they've become really one of the forces in Division III hockey. But when I was playing there, it was Division II. And it was really good. But I think we had 11 kids that were freshmen, and we all graduated together, which was unbelievable. It was just a phenomenal thing. And my football coach there at Hobart, Jack Daniels, that really was his name. We're still friendly to this day. His daughter, Donna, actually works for the New Jersey Devils right now. She's one of the building managers there. So, I had a lot of really good connections and friends from college due to sports more than anything else.
All right, so let's fast forward. So all of a sudden you meet Scotty Bowman. And now you're behind the bench with the Pittsburgh Penguins. I know you did some other stuff before you landed the assistant coaching job, but like, were you truly ready for it, Pierre? When they gave you the job, were you ready to be an assistant coach at that level?
Oh yeah, what people don't know is I coached in college after I was done. After New Jersey sent me to the minors, and I didn't want to play anymore, just because I got tired of it. I was a coach for 1 year at my alma mater. I was 3 years at Babson College and 2 years at St. Lawrence. So I had amazing amounts of practical coaching experience. And the first year I was with Pittsburgh, I did everything from scouting pros to advanced scouting for our big team to scouting amateurs to working with our farm team in Muskegon to spending a lot of time over in Sweden. I was on the road probably that entire year. I don't even know if I spent more than 10 nights in my apartment that year. So I had a lot of practical experience. I was really fortunate to get that experience. And I was actually supposed to be the head coach of our farm team in Muskegon the second year after we won the first cup. But the late Badger Bob Johnson got, very, very sick, a brain tumor, and passed away. And they called me while I was up at training camp in Muskegon and said, meet Scotty and Craig Patrick in Toronto. And I did. And we watched Buffalo play Toronto in the last exhibition game. And then Scotty said, tomorrow we're driving down to Pittsburgh and they're going to announce us as a coaching staff in Pittsburgh.
Wow. Well, how'd you get in with him though at the beginning? Like, did you just, he's just such a masterful mind where you're just like, okay, I'm going to be a sponge on everything he does. But how did he get to trust you?
Well, it's a good story. His daughter, Alicia, was looking at colleges, and Mike Keenan used to work for Scotty. He coached at Rochester Americans when Scotty was a general manager at Buffalo. Yep. And Mike had gone to St. Lawrence with Jacques Martin. And so Scotty was talking to Mike about different colleges and asked him about St. Lawrence. And Mike said, oh, it's an amazing place. You should send your daughter to look at it. So when Scotty was actually on the visit with Alicia, he came over to the rink while she was in the admissions office. And I was running practice. Our head coach, Joe Marsh, I think, was on a recruiting trip at the time. And I was running practice. And I walk off the ice and I go into our office and there's Scotty Bowman with a baseball hat on. And he says, hi, I'm Scotty Bowman. I said, yeah, I know who you are. And then he said, I really enjoyed that practice. He says, I'm going to be commuting between Buffalo and Montreal a lot. Do you mind if I stop in whenever I do? And I said, no problem. And because he was working for Hockey Night in Canada then. So he would stop in. And this was before cell phones really became prominent. And he would be calling my house at all hours of the night just to talk college hockey, junior hockey, kids I was recruiting. And then after 1 year of that, he said, listen, I think I'm going to go work for the New York Rangers and run their team. Would you want to come with me? I said, absolutely. And then he called me back about a day later and he said, the meeting didn't go as planned. We're not going to New York. I said, okay. And then probably 6 months to 8 months later, he called me up in June and he said, what are you doing tomorrow? And I said, not much. And he says, get to the airport in Ottawa. There'll be a plane ticket there for you. You'll meet me in Toronto and we're flying to Vancouver for the NHL draft. I want to hire you for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And that's how it happened.
How about that?
Wow.
So, all right. So Mario Lemieux, Paul Coffey, Kevin Stevens, all these guys, Jaromir Jagr, like Pierre, coaching these guys. How much coaching did you have to do? How coachable were they? Like, were you walking on eggshells or were you just going straight in and you had confidence as an assistant coach right away?
One of the best things that happened for me was the first year. I didn't have to go on the ice with them. I'd go on the ice with our guys down in Muskegon, but I didn't have to go on the ice with the guys in Pittsburgh because I was doing a lot of advanced scouting and breaking down tape and giving in reports. So I was fortunate that way. So they got to know me in that entire playoff series. That spring, whether it was against New Jersey, Washington, Boston, or finally against Minnesota, I was a guy that would come in before every series and do the game presentation for the players. So I got to know them on a different level my first year, and then the second year when I was on the ice coaching them. And if you remember, Scotty didn't run the practices then. Barry Smith and I and Rick Kehoe did.
Yeah.
So, it was a bit different. We were fortunate. But the guy that really created the whole program in Pittsburgh was Craig Patrick. He had the vision to actually go out and hire Bob Johnson and Scotty Bowman and put together a staff that was phenomenal. And that really changed. Bob Johnson, Scotty Bowman, along with Craig, really changed the culture of the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Did you have to, I'm sure you have, any moment where you had an argument with Mario about something where you wanted him to do something and he's like, no, I think this is the way it works better. And then, like, how do you Like that had to happen. How do you really?
Never, honest to goodness, the only guy I ever had an argument with, and we got him from the St. Louis Blues, and I was part of, along with Scotty Bowman getting him, was Gordie Roberts. And it's not because we were mad at each other. I'll tell you the story in a second. But no, our players were really receptive to coaching, and they really liked getting information. Mario was phenomenal to deal with. People don't know this about Mario, but before in '92, we were down 3-1 to the Washington Capitals, and Scotty and Barry Smith and Rick Keogh and I decided we can't keep doing this because they're killing us with offense from their defense. We were playing an aggressive 2-1-2 forecheck, so we switched and went to a 1-4 delay because we wanted to take Calle Johansson and Kevin Hatcher and Sylvain Cote and Ally Afraidy out of the offense. So we did that. We changed the whole scheme, and Scotty said, none of you guys are going to present this to the team. Mario is. So Mario was actually called up to Scotty Bowman's suite in Washington, and we showed him exactly what we wanted to try to accomplish as a coaching staff with the game plan. And Mario said, "Okay, no problem." And then Scotty said, "No, it is a problem because tomorrow these guys aren't doing it. You're doing it." And so that's how he sold it. That's how he sold it to the team. And Mario did a phenomenal job with that, and the rest is history. I mean, we went on and won the cup. And we did something. The 92 team did something that I don't think anybody will ever be able to duplicate. They won 11 straight games to win the cup. They won their last 3 in the second round against the Rangers. They won 4 straight against Boston and 4 straight against Chicago. No team has ever done that.
So were you thinking, like, listen, here you are, young guy, you're winning Stanley Cups, you're coaching, arguably the greatest player ever, right there, obviously, with Gretzky, and some of the best players to ever play coming up after him with Yager and some of these guys. Were you just thinking, man, this is going to be my life for the next 20, 25 years. I'm going to be a coach on an NHL bench for the next foreseeable future. Were you thinking, was that where your mindset was or no?
Oh, for sure. I was just so grateful to be part of that. And, there were so many good Larry Murphy and Joey Mullen. And
oh my God.
Talked about Kevin Stevens and Ronnie Francis. And, it's the grinding guys that I really had an affinity for. Jay Caulfield. And remember standing with Jay, and I blacked out Joe Louis Arena on a couple off days. And I get the sparring gloves on with Jay, and we'd work out. And the next day I couldn't move. My shoulders were black and blue. Cam knows something about that when you start tying up with guys and, you're just taking punches and things like that so they can stay sharp. And, just so many good memories, of so many of those, whether it was Troy Loney or Phil Bourque or Bobby Airy, guys that really cared about Randy Gillen, who was just a face-off ace. So many good stories about those diligent, hard-working guys. It wasn't just our superstars. Our hard-working guys really, really competed.
Yeah. So were you out to be a head coach, though? Were you thinking, okay, now I'm going to look for a head coach?
I had a feeling. Scotty had talked to me many times over the course of our relationship that he thought that there would be opportunities for me to be a head coach and in the league, and so he just says the one thing is you got to make sure you get to the right place. Don't be in a rush to take a job. And I wasn't in a rush. Things were really good in Pittsburgh. Craig Patrick treated me phenomenal. We had 2 different ownership groups in the times that I was there, and the owners were phenomenal. They were really, really good. And I got to tell you, Mario Lemieux, to this day, is still a very good friend, but the way he treated people, and especially our coaching staff, he was off the charts. Spectacular.
What's it like, especially in that locker room too? Like, speaking of Kevin Stevens, like we all have heard, and I think he's still going through a tough time. Like, what a difference between how the players were like after practice and what they did back in the early 90s compared to what they're doing now. I mean, come on, Pierre. Why? Explain that a little bit, because you've seen both sides of the story here a little bit too, right?
Yeah. No, the players were different. Scotty had a real magic formula, though. He wasn't there to run the practices, but he'd be there to watch, and he'd make sure that practices were a little later so the guys couldn't have very long lunches, if you know what I mean. They had to go pick up their children at school or take their wife shopping or their girlfriend or whatever. But Scotty wouldn't. Most teams practice around 10:30, 10:45. Scotty would make it a little later so guys wouldn't have as much time to go out and do stuff.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, so he learned that in Montreal. He told me that was a Toe Blake trick that he used to do a lot, and I believe it. That's the one thing that never gets enough attention. The history of Scotty Bowman and his knowledge of the game and what he's passed on to people that have worked for him over time is phenomenal. I mean, it really is amazing.
Okay, so you get to Hartford. All right, Pierre, I don't think you'd ever been a head coach before. You can tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe you were at one of the other stops that you talked about, but you get the head coaching job. What's the difference, head coach versus assistant coach? Like, were you, in your mindset, were you ready to take that on, or were you nervous? What was that first meeting like with the team?
No, I was never nervous. It was actually a really good meeting. The late Brad McCrimmon was on our team at that point, and he was phenomenal to be around. He was tremendous for me as a young coach. Part of the problem, though, is if you go look at it, the first 20 games I was a head coach there, we had the third best record in the National Hockey League. And our guys were humping. They were doing phenomenally well. I was so proud of them. They were playing great. We were playing a really robust style. It wasn't fun to come to Hartford and play. We were physical. We had some really tough guys like Jim McKenzie, Mark Janssens, Jimmy Agnew. We had some heavy duty artillery, and the late Mark Potvin. I wasn't afraid to deploy it either. We tried to create an identity, which was really good for us as a group. But then we started getting just savaged by injuries. And it really started to fall apart. We had a terrible road trip where we won. We played New Year's Day on Long Island against Al Arbor and the Islanders. We won. The next day we flew out to L.A. We played in L.A. We lost in overtime. Then we had a 3-0 lead in Anaheim going into the late second period, and we lost that game in overtime. And then the next day we had to play in San Jose, which we didn't get there till 4 a.m. No excuses. I think it was a 5:00 start. And we got pummeled. Kevin Constantine and the San Jose Sharks pummeled us. And then 2 days later, flying commercial, by the way, no charters. We had to play in Boston. We had to play in Boston with a stopover. For those that remember, TWA would have their hub in St. Louis. So we took a TWA flight from San Francisco to St. Louis to Boston. And then played the next day. So we were out of gas. And then we just started losing players. We were really, really massacred by injury.
And you had some veteran guys on that team, right? I mean, it wasn't like guys you never heard of. It was a bunch of pretty much a number of accomplished NHL players, right?
Well, if you go look at it, it was Chris Pronger's 19-year-old season. He was phenomenal. Go look at Pronger's first 4 years in the league. His best year was his 19-year-old year. Chris played great, and I think a big reason why he was just so talented and really receptive to coaching. But the other thing, too, is he played with Brad McCrimmon most of it that year, and he was just his roommate, and Brad was phenomenal. I miss Brad every day. Brad McCrimmon was an amazing NHL guy. Died in that terrible plane crash over in Russia. But then, you look at the top line, we had the CVS line, Andrew Castles, Jeff Sanderson, and Pat Verbeek. That line was phenomenal. It was as good a line as there was in the league in those days. Verbeek was, close to 90 points every year. Sanderson had back-to-back 40-goal seasons. Castles was 80-plus points. I mean, that line was really, really good. The problem was we just didn't have that much depth, so that was an issue. And we lost Sean Burke, who was a really important part of our team. Sean was a really, really important part of our goaltending situation, and he got hurt and never could really get it back on the rails.
Well, did you and Verbeek get along? I mean, there's all the talk. And listen, I'm doing it long enough now. It's not like coaches and players get along all the time, right? I mean, sometimes they don't see eye to eye. It has happened before. But what's that talk about you and Patty Verbeek not getting along? Is that overplayed?
Oh, yeah, I think it's been way overplayed. And that was off of one incident that happened in Buffalo, New York, where 6 of our players got arrested in a barroom tussle, and things didn't go very well. And we were trying to create as a staff and as an organization, we were trying to create certain standards, and it just wasn't acceptable. And that's what led to some of the disagreement. It's funny because I recruited Patty's brother, Gerard, to St. Lawrence, and Gerard was a very good player at St. Lawrence. So I've known Pat Verbeek a long time. No, I have no issues. Every time I see Pat, whether it was when he was working in Tampa or whether he's working in Detroit, where he's back to now, always had no problems with Pat.
Well, you were so young. I mean, 32 years old? How at that age, Pierre, gosh, and even when I walk into the Blues room right now, I'm 36. I walk in there, I'm still intimidated. Even walking in there, you have to show a presence. You have to be confident. That must have been pretty intimidating.
I think the one thing, Cam, that really makes it a little easier is the fact that, you were around, or I was around, some really good people in Pittsburgh, phenomenal people. And so when you're coaching a team that's got future Hall of Famers on, and you're the guy I was much younger than 32, by the way. I think I was 29 when I was doing that in Pittsburgh. And you're presenting the series plans to them about how you're going to beat New Jersey, or how you're going to beat Washington, or how you're going to beat Boston, or how you're going to beat Minnesota. And, you're the guy that's up there, and you're doing a video presentation, and you're doing the X's and O's. That can be pretty intimidating. So after you go through that whole situation, and then you win another cup, you're not really that intimidated anymore. I think you feel pretty good about yourself.
Yeah.
But see, Pierre, you said though, like that even Scotty told you, hey, when you take the next job, make sure it's the right situation. So was Hartford the right situation? Do you regret going there? And if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently?
Well, that's a great, fair question, Andy. The one thing that I thought was really interesting for that situation was I really trusted Brian Burke. Brian Burke is the man that hired me in Hartford. I really liked Paul Holmgren. He was the head coach there at the time. And Kevin McCarthy was the other assistant. But I really trusted, and I thought Brian Burke would get this thing going and get it awake. The Hartford situation was not a really strong one at the time, but Brian really had a good plan, and he sold me on it. And he paid me very well, and I was really excited about it. And then obviously after 9 months, Brian left Hartford, and Brian went to work for the league. So that changed everything really quick. Everything changed very, very quickly after Brian left, because he was the guy that was going to change it all, and he was well on his way to doing it. And then obviously, things didn't go very well. The second year, they did actually. They started out unbelievably well, and then obviously we got so many guys hurt. We just weren't deep enough as an organization.
I'm sorry, Ken. I thought you were going to go there.
That's why I just texted you for you to go, because I'm following up on you.
See, this is what happens now, Pierre, because of the coronavirus. We can't even be in the same spot. We can't even do this in the same spot. So we're adjusting just like everybody else. So all right, so you end up when you left Hartford, and I know you went to Ottawa, but how did this whole broadcasting thing get started? And obviously, it's been a great decision for you, but do you feel like you left coaching too soon if you ever wanted to get back into it?
Well, yeah, first of all, I miss coaching every single day. That's why it's just such a treat for me to go to the rink and work with so many really good young players. That's what I've been doing ever since I left coaching. But the Ottawa experience was phenomenal. And I'm so grateful every day to Rod Bryden, who was the owner at the time, one of the best owners I ever had the privilege of working for. Randy Sexton was the general manager there. He's the assistant in Buffalo right now. He was outstanding. He put that thing right back on the wheels in Ottawa. And Ray Sherrill was the assistant general manager, and he just did an awesome job there. So I worked with some really special people there. Grateful for all the time I had to spend with Rick Bowness and Chico Resch and Alain Vigneault. They were part of the staff. But if you go look at the work that was done in Ottawa from 94, 95 up until about 96, 97, and you look at all those great Ottawa teams, all the heavy lifting was done in the time that I had a chance to work. There were so many good people. I'm really proud of what the guys did in Ottawa. It really turned into a tremendous franchise because of all the work that Randy and Ray and Rick Bowness and Alain Vigneault and the late John Ferguson did. And I really was proud to be part of their group. They were awesome people. Really, really good.
So you work with all these big boys, and Bowman's and Lemieux and all this stuff. You've been in so many different situations, and finally you're starting to end your coaching career. And so how would you find this other avenue? You have all this information stuck in your head, like, okay, let somebody hire me so I can fucking release this shit, please.
This is a great story because it kind of involves St. Louis. Mike Keenan and Bob Berry were part of the St. Louis Blues at the time. Yeah. And their farm team in the East Coast Hockey League was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which was going to be an expansion team. Greg Gilbert was a coach of their farm team up in Worcester. And so they actually asked me to go down to run their team in Baton Rouge. So I did that for a year, which was awesome, by the way. I just loved it. It was really fun coaching down there, building a team, had some good players. Anyways, to make a long story short, Ted Blackman, who's no longer with us, he passed away about 12 years ago. He was the program director at CJAD Radio in Montreal. And he called me up in Baton Rouge and he says, "What are you doing this summer?" I said, "Well, I'm going to come back to Canada and then I'm going to be back in Louisiana probably late August for training camp." And he said, why don't you come into the office when you're back in Montreal? So he said, okay, I will. And I came into the office at CJD, and he said, we're thinking about making some changes with the Montreal Canadiens radio show, and we think that you would be a great addition to our product. So I said, oh, well, I've never done it before. I kind of like coaching. So I said, come on in. So they gave me a screen test in the studio in Montreal, and after it was over, they offered me the job to be the full-time color guy for the Montreal Canadiens on the radio. And I said, awesome. And I took it.
Cool. And then you start doing television too, right? From Montreal? Is that TSN or what?
Yeah. Well, no, it started with Montreal on the local stations in Montreal. And then I started writing for Sports Illustrated, which was just a phenomenal experience. Paul Fichtenbaum was the sports editor at the time, and he was just outstanding to work for. The great Michael Farber was there. And I mean, I couldn't have fallen into a better situation. I was working for the Montreal Canadiens on the radio, doing TV up there. And then obviously writing for Sports Illustrated was awesome. And then everything just started to explode from there for me. Then TSN hired me a year and a half later. And then I started doing the Olympics and doing World Junior. And then NBC came up to me in the 2004 Stanley Cup final, Tampa versus Calgary, and said, if we get this product, do you think that you can broadcast a game from between the benches? I said, I know I can. I told that to Sam Flood and Dick Ebersol, but I said, I don't think the NHL will ever allow you to do that. And they said, well, if we can get it done and you think you can do it, we would like you to be that guy inside the glass. And I said, yeah, but I don't think it'll get done. And then a year later, they called me back after the lockout and they said, you got the job if you want it. And that's when it started at NBC.
Hey, Cam, if I gave you the option to buy a car, you can either go to the dealership or you can buy it from your house, from the crib.
Oh my God, Andy, Bellman, they make it so easy for you. They'll come to you. Not to mention they'll have videos of any car that you want. They'll go right through it. They'll show you the ins and outs of everything, make it completely simple for you. And I tell you what, they're great people to work with. They've been in the game a long time, Andy. They're huge hockey fans. They do a lot of charity work in this city, and they make it comfortable for you to go buy a car at Bellman.
Exactly. And we're dealing with a pandemic. Cam didn't know that, but everybody else knows we're dealing with a real pandemic. This is serious stuff. And so that's why they're making an adjustment to make life as easy for you, because people out there still need transportation. People out there were still planning on buying cars. Doesn't mean that you have to put that on hold. The NHL season's on pause, but your car aspirations don't need to be. www.bellman.com. You can email them. You can text them. They've got so many different ways. And again, they will do a virtual meeting with you where they'll walk around cars. They'll show you the exterior. They'll show you the interior. Answer any questions you may have about the engine or the performance. And great lease deals. You can buy a new car, pre-owned deals as well. And again, if you're a current Bellman customer, listen up to this as well, because they will come to you with a nice, clean loaner car, all sanitized. You don't have to worry about the big germs because they took care of it. They cleaned it all up for you. They'll leave you with the loaner car, take your car back to the shop, service it up for you, and then deliver it back to you. That's what I call service, Cam Jansen.
They make it too easy, Andy. Everybody's going to start doing this kind of stuff now. They're innovative. They're great people. Check them out. Bellman.com.
If you can't get there, they'll come to you. Again, Bellman, Buick, Cadillac, GMC, or right across the street, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Bellman Automotive Group, proud sponsor and big-time supporter of what we're doing here on the Cam and Strick podcast. www.bellman.com. Were you the first one to broadcast between the benches?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
It's a game changer, by the way. It's a game changer, man. You see everything. You hear the benches. You hear the coach. You hear people get pissed off. You hear the stick break. You're just in the moment, dude.
Well, you were part of some pretty important ones between the Devils and the Rangers. I still
Pardon my language.
I still have some very good memories, Cam.
And every time I chirped from the bench, every time I went out after chirping a long time, the hockey gods got me. I usually got my ass kicked the next shift. Funny how that works, eh?
It's funny. It's really funny. Well, no, you know what, though? I'll tell you one thing. Lou Lamoriello is an amazing friend of mine. I know you think the world of him, and I know he thinks the world of you. And anybody that has an opportunity to meet and spend time with Lou Lamoriello, you're with a winner. And I tell you one thing, Cam, he always really, really spoke very, very admirably about you.
I look up to that man so much, Pierre, and my fan. And let me hear a little something about him. I would call my parents sometimes, and I knew he'd be mad at me up there as a young kid. I was a little wild, and he just put me. And I'd call my parents, and the first thing they say when they answer the phone, "Did you piss off Lou again?" I'm like, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Don't. How dare you?" I'm like, "I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay." I go out there and fight 3 times, do my thing, to get there 5 hours before practice. It's just the way it went, man. I loved it. It was the best thing for my life.
You know, it's pretty funny. I don't know if Scotty Gomez was around when you were there.
Oh yeah.
But there was one time after they won the cup, Pat Burns was coaching. They came for the picture the next year, and you know how Lou doesn't like jewelry around players' necks.
Nope.
So it's Scotty Gomez, and you'll like this. Scotty Gomez had a necklace made that was soldered on, so it couldn't be unclipped. And so they get there for the team picture, and Lou goes, "Get that off," and he goes, "I can't, it's soldered on." And Lou had the trainers go and get bolt cutters, and they cut it off. They cut it off.
He made Scott. So they just get done winning. I think were they in Anaheim when they won in 03?
Yeah, 03 was Anaheim.
They're
Babcock's team.
Yeah, so they're in Anaheim. They win. They come on the bus the next day after partying all night. And Gomer's tie was a little loose. His tie after they just won, and Lou makes a big scene the next day after they win about his tie not being tight. Like, look, it doesn't matter if you win or not. You do what the rules tell you to do, and he sets the rules, and you got to obey him, or he's going to call you out. And that's just it. That's it. No gray area.
Totally agree. And you know what, Andy? Here's a good part of Lou Lamoriello, too. He cares about the player significantly. If you play for him, he cares about you. Yeah. And I'll give you a case in point. Brian Giunta was a legendary New Jersey Devil. He was a leader, a champion person, just off the charts, Mr. Good Guy. And when he had a chance to become an unrestricted free agent, he looked at all the different teams. And Lou said, "As soon as you get an offer, just call me back and we'll see if we can match it." So he gets an offer from Montreal, and it's substantial. And he calls Lou up, and he says to Lou, "Mr. Lamoriello, I have this offer. Can you guys match or just a little bit less, and I'll stay?" And Lou goes, "No, I'm going to actually drive you to the airport right now. You need to take this offer for yourself and for your family. This offer is too good." And he says, "I'm going to drive you to the airport right now. You need to take this." That's the kind of guy Lou Lamoriello is.
Yeah, no, we had Scotty Gomez on a few weeks ago. I mean, he says the same thing. I mean, Cam's been talking about Lou forever, and I've interviewed him a ton of times. I mean, he is he'll intimidate you, but at the same time, he's one of the nicest people that I've ever met in hockey for sure, Pierre. But I want to get back to the broadcasting before we move on here. Would you ever go back up top? I mean, you've been doing this down low for so long. When's the last time you did a game up top?
Actually, this year I did a game up top in Montreal because there was no position to work between the benches. So I did a game up top in Montreal, and I actually did a game up top in Boston. One of our production assistants forgot to tell the Bruins that we were coming in to do an Islanders-Bruins game just before Christmas. So there was no place cut out. They sold those tickets. There was no place. So Brendan Burke of the New York Islanders and I did that game upstairs, but I don't do very many games up. I don't mind. I really enjoy being between the benches. I think it's a ton of fun to work down there. I really do.
All right. So as your television career, I mean, it just absolutely explodes. And you're working for TSN, you're working for NBC. Like, what did you enjoy doing the most? I mean, you did the World Junior Championships. You did so many different things, Pierre.
I really missed doing the World Junior, that is. Gordon Miller and I did it for 9 years together, and it was just an amazing privilege to have the opportunity to do that. Canada, back then I was a Canadian company I was working for. They went to the gold medal game 9 straight years. I saw a 16-year-old Alexander Ovechkin in Halifax win a gold medal. I watched a 16-year-old Sidney Crosby be the youngest player to ever score for Canada at the World Junior in 2004 in Helsinki. I watched the best World Junior team ever in 05 because of the lockout play for Canada. They had a line with Corey Perry, Sidney Crosby, and Patrice Bergeron. Crosby played on the wing. I mean, it just shows you how good that team was. Just doing the Olympics, the 02 Olympics in Salt Lake was phenomenal. The 2010 Olympics in Canada and Vancouver, that unbelievable gold medal game, both on the women and men's side, by the way, with Canada winning both, was just off the charts. I mean, I've been so fortunate to work for 2 amazing companies on the broadcast side, in TSN and NBC, and I'm just so grateful every day that I get to go to work.
What was your first big contract? I know you head coach. It was early '90s. But what was your first big contract? And as far as being in the media,
TSN. I remember they signed me. My first one was for 5 years, and it was pretty good money. Very good money. A lot more than what I was making.
That's a lot of work, though, Pierre. That's a lot of people. I don't think people really understand how much you're traveling and how much you have to be on the ball and know everybody and know every call up and know all this information. I just don't know how you do it. It's such a grind, and that's why you get paid the big bucks. I don't think people really realize that, man. How much hard work it takes.
Well, again, it goes back to what you and I were talking about before with Andy. You have to have the passion for the game, and part of the passion for me is preparation, and that's why I enjoyed scouting so much and digging deep on players and finding out about their strengths and their weaknesses and trying to help their weaknesses get stronger and make their strengths even better. I'm just a big believer in prior preparation prevents potential problems. And so I've always been into that, Cam, to be honest with you. It's something that I've really enjoyed doing, and it's one of the real appetizing things for me about being in around and in the NHL is just seeing how, guys get better all the time.
Yeah, Andy, I'll say this real quick, and I'll pump your tires up, Andy. Sorry to sort of take you off, but it's weird. Andy's, and I chirp Andy a lot, but he's the exact same way. He knows more about my career than I do, and it's just like he's just an encyclopedia. It's crazy, and that's why he's my partner. That's why
that's one of the reasons why when Andy contacted me to do this show, I was like, yeah, absolutely, not a problem at all. I'll come on with you, no problem, because I do know it'll be very professional and very well set up.
Absolutely. Right. So listen, but Pierre, I'm just curious, and because there's a lot of criticism, a lot of haters out there. Like, how do you deal with that? Like, when you're at the top, people want to bring you down. People are trying to stab you behind your back. And I know you hear it. Like, how do you deal with that? And what advice would you give to other people who deal with similar stuff?
You gotta just take care of yourself and take care of your business. Prepare for every game like it's a game 7. That's what I do. You can't worry about what people are going to say about you because you can't control it. You have a responsibility to the players that you're covering, to the coaches that you're covering, to the employer that's paying you to do your job, and to the people that you work with. You got to be the most prepared every single day of your job. And if you are doing that day in and day out, then all the criticism really all for naught. Twitter's, I don't even pay attention. I'm not on Twitter. There are a lot of fake accounts. I've never been on Twitter. I never will be on Twitter because of all the fake accounts. Everybody that knows me, all the radio shows I do around in North America knows that. So I don't really pay attention to it. I just want to make sure that when I work with Doc Emmerich, that he feels good about what we did with our shows. And we've worked together for over 15 years now. When I work with Gordon Miller or Chris Cuthbert or Kenny Albert or Brendan Burke, or our producers in the truck and our directors and all our great camera people, as long as they feel good at the end of the night, that's good enough for me. And so that's my responsibility, is to be as prepared as I can every single day.
Does it ever bother you, though, Pierre, when you say, well, now I'm pissed off. Now this is crossing the line. This is wrong. It's inaccurate. And this guy's coming at me.
Well, when it's the inaccurate stuff is just, it's a little troublesome, but NBC takes care of that. I don't, the most painful thing for me is when people tell, lies about you. Then there are people that write columns that don't write actual things. And then, people in your family you're like, what, are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous. So. Yeah.
Do you have to talk to your son about that? Because
no, he's been through it. There was a big column written about him in the New England Hockey Journal recently, and he said, you know what? When I first started playing, people would always come after me saying the only reason I'm here is because of who my dad is, and I know that's not true because my dad's not out here taking the shots that I'm taking, or my dad's not out here getting it like I'm getting it. So I'm doing this for me. And he gave a lot of credit to my wife, which he should have, which is absolutely 100% correct. She's been such a strong-willed person for him. And so right from the start, he's kind of known that he's in a different position because of that, who his dad is. And he doesn't count on that at all. He counts on himself being as well prepared as he can be. So I respect him for that.
And he, you got to break down guys, man. And I have to do the same thing now. I'm 3.5 years in the media and having my own radio show. And you got to dissect a game, and you have to be honest. And people expect you to be honest. So sometimes when you there's a terrible game, I walk in that locker room. Next thing, Andy knows exactly what I'm talking about, and you're like, oh, is he giving me that look because I just talked about him the night before because he took 2 stupid fucking penalties the day before, and I got to call him out. Anybody kind of look at you and sit you down and say, hey, you're wrong on this? Any kind of interaction with that?
No, never once. You know what? One of the greatest guys that I ever talked to after a game, and he was having a real bad game, was Mike McDonald. And I've always tried to go Cam into the dressing room. And you know what? I saw Mike. I was in Dallas. I think it was an Ottawa-Dallas game, and I saw Mike, and he didn't play particularly well. And I walked right up to him, and I said, "Hey, listen, I had to call it the way it was last night." He says, "I had no problem with that at all. I wasn't very good. You were right. I was wrong. It's okay." You know. And it brings me back to this great Gordy Roberts story I can tell you, which I wanted to tell you earlier. We were playing in the Stanley Cup final in 1992 in Chicago Stadium, and Gordy had a real tough first period. And Gordy was a very reliable player. He and Larry Murphy were a great tandem for us. We got Gordy from the Peoria Rivermen back then on waivers. Anyway, so I said to Scotty, and I was changing the defense. I said, Gordy doesn't have it tonight, and we got a chance to sweep. I got to sit him down. He goes, go ahead, sit him down. No problem. So I sat Gordy down, and he was up one side of me, down the other. I mean, he just he was giving it to me. You know, he's an older player, and he's very mature, and he's very professional, but he was giving it to me. And then at the end of the game, we won. We swept. We get the Stanley Cup. He's the first guy to come up to me and say, I deserve to be sat down. Good for you. So the guys that get it, the guys that are players, they don't take that stuff personal. And that's why people can criticize all they want. Until you've walked in my shoes, be careful, because you just don't know what we do to get ready to do our jobs.
Exactly.
How do you approach interviewing, Pierre? Is it something personally like that I love doing the most? I love interviewing. A lot of the interviews you do are on the spot, post game. You don't know you can't really prepare because you don't know who you're going to talk to until maybe a few minutes before the end of the game, who the number one star is going to be, or who you want to talk to. How do you approach the interviewing?
Oh, you just have to be totally, informed on what the player's been doing over the course of the year. Maybe some of the rivals on the opposition. Whether he's been a hot player or a cold player. I mean, there's just so many things, and that's what I'm talking about when it comes to preparation. So I don't go into any interview prepackaged. They're all just off the cuff.
Mm-hmm. And you're known for a lot of the information. I'm an information guy too. What's the balance? Where's the line between too much information versus information you feel like the viewer wants to know?
Well, that's a great question. I think the biggest thing, Andy, is making sure that people understand where a player comes from. Mm-hmm. And who helped him get to where he is. I think the journey for a lot of these, and Cam could speak to this, there are people that helped him along the way that he never would have been in the NHL if it weren't for those people. And I think it's important to celebrate that, especially for younger players that are coming in the league, so people know, hey, this guy didn't just show up and he was a ready-made player. Somebody helped him along the way, and I like to celebrate that a lot.
What's the biggest difference you think in the players now and then back then? I know we talked about the partying issue and just the way the guys were. Again, Scotty Bowman made practices later, because I remember my first year, we went out. We went to sushi, and then we go and we hang out at a bar, and then we go to dinner, and we wouldn't go home in a 7-hour span. Like, that was the trend back then. But what's the biggest difference? I mean, you're around these guys all the damn time. Like, just the mindset, like, they're just not the same. What are you seeing?
Well, they've got so many opportunities to make so much money, but it doesn't last for very long. And that's one of the reasons why I think they take such good care of themselves, number one. Number two, I think, and it's really important, the skill development that these players have been going through ever since they've been about 5 or 6 years old is so much better than what it used to be. Every team. I mean, you look at the Blues win the Stanley Cup last year for a lot of reasons, Jordan Binnington being one of them, the depth of their defense being another one of them. But how about the depth line that they have with Steen, with Barbashev, with Sundqvist? Oh, you think about that. That's a fourth line. Well, Alexander Steen went from being a first and second line player to playing on the fourth line. Oscar Sundqvist, when he was playing over in Sweden, a lot of people thought it was going to be a second line center in the NHL. Ivan Barbashev was a 90-point player when he played for Moncton in the Quebec Major Junior League. I mean, that was your fourth line. That's amazing. The skill level of the players is just so high.
Sonny was going to be a second line player when he played in Sweden. Then he gets to Pittsburgh, and everybody fucking forgot about him until he comes to St. Louis in a Ryan Reeves trade and gets knocked out by Tom Wilson in a goddamn preseason game. And all of a sudden, he's a fucking workhorse, crazy, all over the place. He's one of our most effective fucking players on the team. No doubt about it.
No question. He's a very, very, but that's what I'm talking about. So, like, how many people in St. Louis know that Oscar Sundqvist's father ran the Swedish Ski Federation?
I know.
I had no idea about that. And
so that's something that I think is important for the viewers to know. He
100%.
He comes from a very athletic, driven family. And I know the town that he's from in Sweden, it's a very small town. So the fact that kid was able to make it out of there and make it to the NHL and be a Stanley Cup winner, I think that's huge. It's gigantic.
Yeah. A couple more minutes here for you, Pierre, and then we'll let you go. And I brought that up with Sonny in an interview once. I mean, I find that stuff fascinating, very interesting. I think most of the fans and the viewers do as well. What do you think of the direction broadcasting is going in now, especially with a lot of the women hockey players getting opportunities? What's that been like, kind of sharing the stage with them?
Oh, we're all part of the same team. One of the real privileges I've had is to do the women's gold medal games, starting in 02, 06 in Torino, 02 in Salt Lake, 10 in Vancouver, 14 in Sochi, 18 in Pyeongchang. And that was one of the best gold medal games you'll ever see in Pyeongchang between Canada and the United States. And the Lamoureux sisters were just off the charts good. If you watch the game, you hear me say in the first and second period, and that's where between the benches really matters, saying on the broadcast, they got to get the grinding women out there because the Lamoureux, Gigi Marvin, those young ladies, Megan Duggan, they need more time because the Canadians were grinding the Americans into the ice the first 25 to 30 minutes of that game. So I just love doing the Olympics, especially the women's gold medal games and the entire tournament. Women's hockey is growing. There's no question about it. The women players are outstanding, and they just continue to evolve and get better all the time. So we're all part of the same team.
We need them to be involved. You go to games in St. Louis, there's a ton of girls watching. They're huge hockey fans now. And don't get me wrong, Brian O'Reilly's a sexy dude. He's cruising around with no bucket on. Like, if I'm a girl, I'm like, damn right, I'll watch you. But I will say this. They're even during the All-Star game, like the All-Star game, the 3-on-3, the girls are toe dragging, going 100 miles, slashing each other. I'm like, that was the most interesting thing out of that whole fucking weekend. And Andy and I were involved in pretty much every single activity. So we need that. But I do got one question for you, and we're going to let you go here soon. I appreciate you coming on, Pierre. If there's one thing that needs to change, and you're a fucking, you know the ins and outs of so many damn things when it comes to hockey, one thing that the NHL needs to change, go.
Get rid of the trapezoid.
Oh!
Let the goalies handle the puck. They'll make mistakes. They'll turn it over. But my biggest reason why I want the trapezoid at, I want to protect the defenseman. I just think it opens them up to way too many hits, especially at an unbelievable goal. You talked about Tommy Wilson. When he gets you in his crosshairs, I mean, you can ask Brian Dumoulin. I did that playoff game when he knocked Dumoulin silly. I think if the NHL could get rid of the trapezoid, I think it would help a lot in terms of injury, and I think it would help a lot in terms of manufacturing offense because goalies don't handle the puck as well as they think they do.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. Hey, who you closest with of all the broadcasters? Who do you talk to the most? Who would you consider a real friend of yours? I mean, you've worked with so many different people, like you mentioned before.
I talk to all my partners. I mean, whether it's Gordon Miller or Bob McKenzie up in Canada, Chris Cuthbert, I talk to them, James Duffy. I talk to those guys all the time. I mean, here in the States, I talk to Doc a lot. I talk to Johnny Forsland a ton. I talk to Brendan Burke a lot. Everybody that I work with, Kenny Albert. Kenny Albert's a phenomenal person and a great broadcaster. So, I talk to all the guys I work with. You know what? I talk to our truck people a lot, whether it's Matt Marvin or Josh Friedenberg or Steven Greenberg, Kevin Brown. I talk to our truck guys a lot because we build a lot of tapes going into games, and I think people don't realize that part of the job is a little bit more labor intensive than maybe just broadcasting.
I'm glad it's nice that you know all their names, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. How much longer you want to do this? And what about doing the West Coast games like you did a lot of last year? Is that hard on the body?
No, I love doing the West. I think it's really been great. I'm appreciative of the fact that NBC allows me to go out and do that. it was great seeing Colorado really start to grow their brand as an organization. It was awesome being there in St. Louis last year where the turnaround happened, especially that weekend with Nashville when they won in St. Louis and then they went into Nashville and played so darn well. You could just see the team was really starting to come together. Doing all the Blues series last year in the playoffs was off the charts spectacular. The fans there were just amazing. And it's not because I'm on in St. Louis with you guys now. I've said that on so many different radio shows. So no, I love it. How long do I want to do it? I want to keep doing it. I just love working. So I love the game. I'm proud to be in the league, and I respect everybody that's in the league.
Last thing for you. I know you brought up the idea that maybe of wanting to get involved in management and be a manager. Are you turning the page on that, or is that something you'll always pursue?
No, I think you always have to keep your mind open. There's always going to be a lot of challenges out there. And I'm somebody that really enjoys challenges. So if opportunities present themselves, I think you have to think about them. But the one I told you before, I learned a lesson, and it was nobody's fault. You just learn a lesson from the experience in Hartford. And the grass isn't always greener. And if you're going to go, you got to make sure you go with people that are planning on staying there for the entire time you're planning on being there.
Oh, shit. Well,
Pierre, are we going to see hockey? Are we going to see hockey this year? Or
you know what? I wish I could.
Hockey?
You know what, Andy and Cam, I wish I could tell you that. I just don't know. The neighborhood that I live in has been decimated by Corona. We're talking about a lot of people that have passed away. It's just been unbelievable. My mother's 82 years of age. She lives in downtown Montreal, and they're starting to get just destroyed up there, and she can't even leave her building, and we can't cross the border to go see her, which is just amazingly painful. You know, my dad got killed in a farming accident 11 years ago up in Canada, and so she's by herself, and it's really so you think about those things, you say, I don't know how important hockey is. I feel for the fans, I feel for the owners, I feel for the players. I do. Everybody, that's never happened in our existence. It's never happened. It's tough. It's really tough.
It is tough. We're all going through it. We're all in this together, Pierre. But I will say this one last thing for you, and it's not a question. I just want to let you know. Anytime I see you, you look me in my eyes and you shake my hand, man. I'm a simple fucking man, and I appreciate that, dude. I do. It's little things, Pierre. It's fucking little things.
Everything you did to get into the league, I appreciate.
Awesome.
Because I've skated in your skates and walked in your shoes, and I know how tough a job that is to do. And I really respect the fact that you did it for as long as you did. And I know I'll take it back another step, Andy, just so Cam knows this. Lou Lamoriello is an amazingly close friend of mine. And for him and he's not always trumpeting everybody's virtue. Trust me, he's very close with, but he just thinks the world of Cam. And I when Lou tells me these things, that just helps a player and a person grow in my eyes significantly.
Put a smile on my face. I love it.
Pierre,
appreciate
thanks,
it.
man. I appreciate it, and always look forward to seeing you when you come here in town, and hopefully see you soon, man.
I appreciate it, Andy. Thanks a lot. Be safe, you guys. See you later, Cam. Take care.
You too, big boy. We'll see you, Pierre. Thanks a lot, man.
All right, that was Pierre McGuire. Reminder, we are at the Normal Brand, 6 feet away. They can come to you and keep it 6 feet away.
10 feet away from your fucking
Call
ass.
Pete, 314-899-0800. Leave a message and set up a little wardrobing on wheels. You could use a new wardrobe, Cam. I got to be honest.
I'm wearing Normal Brand right now. What are you talking about, homie?
You need some new clothes.
Little Lulu, little Normal Brand. What's up, baby?
Wardrobing on wheels. Just give them your number. They'll call you back, dude. They'll set that up.
Easy peasy.
So they'll bring a whole bunch of clothes, set it up in your driveway. You'll have like your own little store.
We're getting so big with this podcast now, Andy. I don't fucking shop, baby. I call people.
They bring it to you.
I go, come into my garage.
Yeah.
I got a 15-car garage.
You got a boat in there?
I got a couple boats now.
Yeah, you probably do.
This
How is your boat?
It's totaled, but I'm fixing it. Here's the deal. They come to me now, and then I'm like, hey, I like this. I like that.
Yeah.
It's the easiest damn thing in the world. Check them out at the Normal Brand right here in Ladue. Lovely Ladue, where you live, but you live in the poor part of it.
All right, what'd you think of Pierre?
Great guy, man. Knows his hockey.
He
Answered the questions.
Yes.
The biggest thing is like fucking him getting bashed on, but he rolls with the punches. And again, you got to look at it from a different perspective. Like when everywhere he walks around, he's respected, man. It's just the Twitter folk that get on you. They hate you too.
There's a lot of jealousy out there in this world.
A lot of jealousy, man.
A lot of hate.
Especially in that.
A lot of hate.
Damn right. You're in that mix, dude.
In that industry.
You're in that industry like no other. Like I'm a rogue motherfucker. You're out in the game. You're in fucking.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think there's so much
Why
anger and hate?
Why is it everywhere else?
Everyone wants to keep everybody else down.
What do you think it is in concrete? How do you think it is in roofing? How do you think it is in NHL? How do you think it's in sports? How do you think it's in TV? That's why we do our own shit. That's why we do our own podcast.
But why do
we do our own
people
fucking shit.
wake up every day hating?
Because, man, they look because
just hate.
When you're on TV every day, like you crave attention, and you see other attention from other people, and you see then you're like, fuck that, I don't want to do it. Just like anything else, man. It's just a different.
It does.
It's just we see it firsthand, especially you on a daily basis when shit goes down pre-coronavirus.
Just gives you a different
yeah, man. It's the same shit with everything
feeling
else,
about
dude.
it.
Yeah,
how's your are you taking Corona seriously? You've been washing your hands?
Yeah, I wash my shit, man. I do. I'm fucking fresh as shit. I told you that from the get-go. I'm fresh. I hang out in my house. I barbecue like a motherfucker. That's all I do.
Dude,
Kate
you barbecue
washes
like
me
2 times a day. You act like it's an event.
It is an event.
Like it's a big deal.
Fuck. Pork belly burn ends.
Let me call you back.
Pork belly burn ends.
Let me call you back about
You're
the barbecue.
talking to me about bullshit. I'm fucking barbecuing. Kate's giving me baths 8 times a day so I don't get coronavirus. It's a fucking lovely life I live. Get on with yourself.
Oh, man. We thank Pierre McGuire for coming on this episode of the Cam and Strick podcast. All right. I want to hear from the listener. You need to hit us up with some messages. Who do you want to hear on the Cam and Strick podcast? Are you a sponsor out there who wants to jump on in?
Do you want to critique anything? Am I too loud? Do I cuss too much?
Does Cam's language offend you?
Do I?
Yes or no? Simple yes or no.
Then you don't want to hang out with me at a bar then. We're not hanging out at the bar then. Because that's how I am at the bar. If you want to chill with me, if I have a party and you're hanging out with me, this is how I'm going to be. So if you don't like that, then don't hang out with me.
Is Cam's language offensive? Just hit me up.
So is Michael Jordan's.
Oh, my God. How about that? I wanted to talk about
So
that.
is Michael Jordan's.
This
no,
guy,
we don't have time.
I know. We're not talking about it today.
No. We got to go.
He's dropping F-bombs on ESPN.
So what?
Who would have thought?
He's real as shit. I like him more and more every fucking day. I like him more and more every
Michael
day.
Wilbon is like dropping F-bombs. Like, well, how is this going to change media?
Awesome.
I asked you.
I told you. We're innovative.
You know what? I've asked you this, and I've asked some other media people, and they're kind of like, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it.
I'm a nerd.
Like, just watch. Mm-hmm. And then come back to me and be like, dude,
you want to talk to me real?
You saw this coming. This is going to change everything. It won't be just on the internet or on the Cam and Strick podcast. All right. Thanks for joining us. We thank Pierre McGuire. We thank all our guests. We hope everybody's healthy and safe out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, stay healthy, stay safe.
Be safe and do the right thing. Do the right thing.
Listen, we got the light is at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see it just a little bit.
Yeah, you are.
And we'll get into St. Louis being a what does that mean? Stop it. Just stop.
I'm trying to be positive.
Can we edit that out?
You have a flashlight on. Don't turn it off.
What's wrong with you?
A lot of things.
And the NHL is considering St. Louis as one of the 4 hubs.
Andy, we can go on and on if you want to. And we could either
with
cut
the
this off
clothes
right now, or we can fucking go on and on and on.
All right,
like,
Bellman
seriously,
Automotive.
Fuck me.
Check them out. Let them bring you a car. I talked about it in the open. www.bellman.com. It's where you can buy a car. You can't buy a boat, but you can buy an Escalade. You can buy a Jeep. They have so many different options for you.
They do.
The Buick, the GMC, the Chrysler, the Dodge, the Ram, in addition to getting the Cadillac or the Jeep. So check that out, Bellman.com. Of course, Cope24.com. Our girl, Renee Howitt.
Awesome.
She doesn't mess around, man.
No.
She's bad to the bone.
She's bad to the bone. She's tougher than both of us combined.
Especially
tougher
you.
Especially you.
For sure.
Jeez Louise.
All right.
Thanks, buddy.
See you, Cam. Always
Bye-bye.
good to see you, man. Hey, great to see you, by the way. For the
You
first
look
time
good.
in
You
a
put
couple-
LBs on,
I
which
have
is probably
not. You
good.
said I'm
Now,
up-
130 pounds now.
You said I'm up to
Congratulations.
130.
You weigh as much as my broad does. Congratulations.
That was my goal weight.
I should say girl. I got chirped for saying broad.
Oh,
Can't
my
say
God.
it. I can't do it
You
anymore.
did it again.
Fuck that. I'm not doing it anymore.
I wish I knew
I'm
who that
fucking
guy
done.
was.
I can't say broad anymore, and I'm not going to fucking
Listen,
do it. It's my girl.
Whoever you were that complained about Cam using the word broad,
I'm done.
I totally
My
agree
bad.
with you.
I agree too. My broad told me I can't do it anymore. I'm
Stop
just
being
kidding.
a hooge.
I'm kidding.
Just a
I'm
hoosier.
kidding. No, I apologize for that. I seriously do.
Okay.
I'm not saying that word anymore.
No,
Go,
you
Andy.
can't say that.
Finish this goddamn thing off.
Okay.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I've met my goal weight of 130
You're
pounds.
100 as much as my girl. My girl.
All right, until next time, peace out.